guys, look who it is!
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Jim Reed. That's my man, the innkeeper over there. He's over on this side, actually, not over here, even though
Oh, yeah,
he's
which
on
way do
that
I
side of my screen.
Oh, no, it's this way.
Isn't it?
Oh.
It's super weird, right? All right, guys. Well, welcome to our first podcast here. Unleash the Podcast is what we're calling it. This is our first episode, so we got lazy and named it Unleash the Show, or Unleash the... I don't even remember what I called it.
We actually named this months ago.
Yes. This is
Long time ago.
The show 6 times now.
Yeah.
They're fun to plan. You guys.
Oh, great. Yeah.
We'll let you know if they're fun to do. So far, so good, though. All right, so we got some interesting topics lined up for us today. We are kind of in the middle of the month. We missed some news from the past, so we are going to step back just a little bit, talk about some things that maybe you guys have known about for a little while, but were super interesting and smart, so I'm sure you're dying to know our take on these topics. So.
True.
All right, so John, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself so people know who you are here, and then I'll do the same.
All right, so I am John the Blevins, and I come from, I guess we both kind of come from a Magic background in terms of where we're gaming from. I know you've got some other weirder games.
Whoa.
In your repertoire.
World of Warcraft, man.
Okay, weird, or the most popular game of all time. Same thing. But in terms of my gaming experience, longtime Magic player, pretty big in the Buffalo Magic community, is for whatever that's worth. And another thing that is kind of unique to, at least as far as I've seen in most gaming podcasts at all, both myself and you come from more of a sports background, at least having played sports in the past, knowing a lot about sports, more than your average Hearthstone podcast, I would say. The bar is not particularly high.
Probably.
But yeah, that's where I come from.
I may or may not know more than anybody I know about football, for the most part. So I'm Jim. I have, like John said, I have some sports background. I have, a lot of gaming background as well. This is the second podcast that I've hosted. The first one was about fantasy football. And it was mostly kind of a regional thing. And it was far away from me. They just liked me when they met me on Twitter. And I got involved with them after appearing on their show for a little while. They asked me to host a new one all about football. I play Hearthstone. I've gotten a legend. John over there, how you doing? How's that going, buddy? Still rank 2?
Hey, rank 2 hype, man. Rank 2 hype.
It's good for the 18th of the month, man. You will get there if you would get the hell out of the arena. I die inside every time I see it. Stop doing it. I don't understand. You like me bought everything anyways, so it doesn't really matter. We don't need cards.
Right. That's true.
But yeah, so I've gotten there once. John got absolutely soul crushed last month in a similar fashion that I got soul crushed in December. Okay, so what we're talking about is getting to rank 1, 5 of 5 stars, and then going on a losing streak to drop yourself back down to about rank 14. Yeah. At least that's what it feels like when it happens. I don't know.
I didn't think that you could get back to Angry Chicken, but Blizzard emailed me and said they made an exception for me.
Right, you went from that good to that
1
terrible.
To 25.
They've never seen that kind of transition before. So John is going to get there. But, so anyways, we're going to get into the topics that we're going to talk a little bit more about. And the first one is, as I said, something that you've known about for a while. We've all been playing in this world. Okay. But the world I'm talking about is a world where Undertaker has 2 toughness for his entire life. Okay. So, this got announced. I don't remember exactly when it got announced, but when it happened, there was much rejoicing. Okay. Just tears of the scummiest players on the planet rained from the skies like manna from the heavens. And I drank it and soaked it up as much as I possibly could so that I can go back to playing as Sarah and not having to worry about stupid one drops that are absolutely no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna get into. I'm not gonna pull out the trump card yet, but Undertaker. Many people that know me know that I'm an aggro player at heart, and Undertaker was just not a good card for Hearthstone. It wasn't a good card for the meta. It wasn't good. It was the type of card that it was so the variance for it was so high. It was so much better on turn one than it was on any other turn, and it created games where it not only created games where it warped the game, it warped the entire meta in the sense that if you were playing a deck that didn't have first turn answers to Undertaker, you just couldn't get past a certain barrier. You just lost to the games when they drew Undertaker. It was as plain as simple as that. And a lot of times a card like this in Magic might not be that powerful because a lot of times they make you jump through a lot of hoops to get the buffs. Like allies or slivers, like those cards are good, but you have to jump through a lot of hoops and change your deck a lot to make those cards powerful. Undertaker, all the death rattle cards are already in your deck anyway. You're just playing this card and then playing more good cards. Like
the hoop
Mad Scientist is already a perfectly fine card on its own.
Yeah, the hoop you have to jump through is playing creatures that were resistant to removal.
Yeah, efficiently costed that gave you value when they were killed. Yeah, that's really, it's very hard to play. But I was a little bit sad about the Undertaker nerf, but I knew it was coming. I knew it had to come, so I wasn't that sad. And actually, having played directly after the Undertaker nerf, one thing to note is it was kind of weird how they did it. They announced the nerf that they were going to change it like some extremely short time before they actually implemented it. It was like, oh yeah, these changes are coming up, and then boom, they're there. It's not like, oh, we're gonna wait till the end of the season. It's like we're mid-season, we're changing Undertaker. Good luck getting through the rest of the season without your Undertaker. Take that.
It was definitely a shorter time frame. I wasn't expecting it. I just got home from work, opened BattleNet, and I was like, what are you patching? What are you patching right now? And then just noticed it was live and went with it.
Yeah, and then when it popped up and said Hearthstone is now playable, you finally agreed with it.
Yeah, it was actually a true statement. Like it's a playable game again.
Right.
And
but one thing, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting, and we're going to talk more specifically about it. But Hunter has proven to still be playable through this iteration of Undertaker, whether they play Undertaker or not. And I've got to say, I don't even mind playing against it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not near what it as annoying as it was on a game-by-game basis.
It's not even close. It is not even remotely close. I actually, when the nerf first happened, I was still playing my exact same 30 with the Undertakers in it because I was like, it's probably still just as good in my list that I had it in, which was just all-in aggressive Hunter. And I actually kept track of how many times it made a difference, whether if it made a difference that it got nerfed or not. And out of about 20 games, roughly 40% or roughly 60% of the time, it didn't actually make a difference, or it didn't come up. I didn't draw Undertaker or whatever. It didn't make a difference that the nerf had happened. So it changed about 40% of the games that you played. However, we talked about this earlier, and you mentioned that those 40%, it's a heavy 40% of the games that matter.
Yeah, it's like 40% of games are no longer I automatically win.
Right.
So
it's that, and also they're games that you might not have been automatic wins, but now are just straight up losses instead of just good games. Right. Just like things like them, like it used to be, you needed to have a specific 2-drop on turn 2 in order to trade with the Undertaker.
With X.
And now you can basically have anything, and you can always trade. You can always trade with it. I mean, it might still be mana efficient for them, but you're still getting it out of the way.
You could be a paladin and do it with Silverhand recruits over 4 mana and 2 turns, and you still got great value out of your 1-drop if you're the Hunter player in that situation.
Right.
So I think Undertaker's still a very viable card, personally, and I think what's happened to it has been fair. It shows up on occasion when the deck is heavily themed to take the most advantage of it, and it's just that's not 70% of the field anymore.
I think that it could have been a 1-3 and still been a solid card. But I think that Blizzard has kind of really wanted to cater to making people happy. I think people still would have complained if it were 1-3. And it would still be played just as much. It would likely still be played just as much if it were 1-3.
A little bit. I mean, I never even thought about that. I would like it more as a 1-3. Now you've got me like not liking the nerf all of a sudden. Because they could have just given hunters their version of Mana Wyrm, which is a very playable card and finds its home into aggressive mage decks.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, similar to this conversation, John wanted to have a conversation about the general term cancer, okay, that gets used in this game, okay? And essentially, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just cancer rogue, cancer mech mage, cancer what, you know what I mean? It literally does not make a difference. People just kind of attach it to these decks as though it's an attribute, you know what I mean? Like it's an actual descriptive term that means something. So this was a conversation you wanted to have, so I'll kind of let you drive it, buddy.
Yeah. So when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, this is just Twitch people. I didn't think it would actually stick. But people season in and season out keep saying it. You know, the first time I ever heard it was, I think it was a rogue deck. It might have been the Miracle Rogue deck, or it was either that or the old Hunter with 2-mana Buzzard. And when people called that deck cancer, I kind of agreed with them because that deck was extremely powerful. You know, just having the 5-mana combo of Buzzard Unleashed just made certain decks just completely unplayable. Like Shaman as a class, not remotely playable.
You remember Paladin, when it was 4 mana for that combo?
I do.
2-mana Unleashed, 2-mana Buzzard, just...
I also remember when Buzzard used to be a 2/2 for 2, but that was you know, it's neither here nor there. But here's my problem with people calling decks cancer now. They're just wrong. You know, anytime someone plays against a ladder deck twice and they lose to it, they're like, oh, this deck is cancer. Oh, Mech Mage is cancer. Oh, this is cancer. It's unbeatable. Why are people playing it? And instead of trying to make a deck that beats it, I mean, this doesn't go for the high-level players because obviously they're doing their thing. They're winning. Most of the high-level players are able to, you know, correctly evaluate the metagame. But, like, people constantly and without like any sort of filter when they see a Mech Warper, they're like, oh, this is cancer. Oh, I can't believe someone would play this. Why would you play this? It
used to be,
and these are the same people that are playing the deck on ladder. Like, I and we'll talk about this in a little bit. I play Face Hunter, Cancer Hunter, but you know, I don't go around and call people's deck cancer. And let me get this straight. I don't have any problem with the term being in poor taste, because it is, but I don't care. I'm generally in poor taste, but it's just not even accurate. Like, there are, I would say right now the metagame for Hearthstone is about as healthy, roughly as healthy as I've ever seen it.
I can disagree with that pretty easily. It's not as healthy as I've ever seen it. It's not near as bad as I've ever seen it, but there's a devil out there, right? Like there
always is in every game, in every format of every game.
Except for when games are great.
Okay, StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 1 was acclaimed to be like the most balanced game ever.
Right.
And there's no devil in StarCraft 1, but that's why that game is beautiful and everyone loves it, I guess. I don't know.
I can't think of a game I hate more on the planet. But anyways. I know how unpopular that opinion is, so I'll stop talking about it.
I'll pretend like I didn't say it.
You know, there was times, I think, to me, and I know this is going to sound like me talking, I guess, is the only way to put this, right? Like a Control fanboy. But there's been times when in the old meta, when Pally was completely unplayable, when Control ruled the world. It was the best thing to be playing. There's been plenty of times when Control Warrior's been the best deck. Okay?
Yeah.
And in those times, there's always a rock, paper, scissors to it, right? Because Control decks have so much room to include one card differences, to tweak matchups, and to do all these different things to improve while changing a very small number of cards, but the impact quite a bit, because when you're playing a matchup where everybody's drawing their entire deck or close to, you're going to see that one card difference in most instances.
Right.
So the reason I brought up Paladin is because in those times, Control Paladin became viable, because it just had the late game tools, the equality combos, to be able to fight through those decks and be able to just, I mean, it has the best board sweeps. It still does. It did then. It just didn't have the support that it has now.
Right.
Basically, it didn't have muster and quartermaster. That's
right.
Really,
which was huge.
Yeah, it is. It gives it mid-range power. It gives it control power. You'd play muster in a really aggressive aggro paladin list, but I don't know that you'd play even one quartermaster in like a Shakadin style.
Yeah, probably not. Well, maybe, but it depends on the list.
Yeah, like you're probably using those guys to trade and let your more efficient costed minions get in there. But anyways, so that's, I would say, a more fitting, most balanced time is kind of in the times in this game. Not that it's always, but in the time in this game when I think it's been the most balanced is when Control's been the best.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to perception. Like, okay, I would say right now, if given the best pilot of the deck, I would say that some version of the Oil Rogue is probably the best deck in Hearthstone right now, in the meta right now.
See, I would have to put it on Mech Mage, but I'm also rocking like 80% win rate this month with Mech Mage. I just wish I had more time to play.
I think it really depends a lot. A lot of it depends on ladder, where you are in ladder, who you're playing. I think that just the variety, like you said, the control deck, like the rogue deck gives you so many options, so many chances to outplay your opponent, to have them misplay, to take different lines depending on what happens. It has the sheer power with the oils to just destroy someone out of nowhere almost. It's really powerful, but that's not my main point. The point is that if all control decks are the best decks in the format, that doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. That just means that control is good. I think that when you've got a number of mid-range decks, you've got control decks, you've got aggro decks, and they're all viable, which I think is pretty much the case now. You can take almost any deck and rock at least a 65% win percentage if you're a decent player, with an aggro deck, with a control deck, with a mid-range deck. I think that's when it's healthy. It's unhealthy when, I can't play my aggro deck because the control, it can't be control. It's never possible to beat control.
Right.
That's unhealthy because then aggro decks are gone. At least by the metric of being able to play as many decks as possible. I mean, if your metric is to have control decks be the best and have that be healthy, that's a different story. But I would say that right now there's a lot of viable archetypes. Almost basically every class. Basically every class has at least a tier 1.5, tier 2, tier 1 deck.
Shaman probably being the worst.
Might be the worst, but that mech shaman deck is at least played a lot. I don't think it's good, but it's played a lot.
It plays the mechs that all the other classes play, and that's in my opinion why it wins. I enjoy it. I actually enjoy that that mech shaman deck quite a bit because I just think Whirling Zap-O-Matic is just about the coolest guy on the planet. He's just the bee's knees, literally. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. But I think if we look at this format then and we want to call it one of the best ever, when I hear top formats discussed, they're discussed as a rock, paper, scissors. I don't know if you would agree with that sentiment or not. So,
I would say that that's an accurate statement.
So if we go rock in this format is Mech Mage.
Okay.
Scissors, it has to be the rogue because they have knives and, so they make more sense to be scissors than they do to be paper. So
Well, and Mech Mage, I think, has a favorable matchup against Rogue, probably.
Yeah,
if
it's just
the
the four
variation.
Yeah, the 4 freeze guys are just unbelievable.
That's not actually the main deck being played, surprisingly enough.
What's that?
The Raynad version isn't the one that's played the most.
But they still play Chugga and Water Elemental, or do some of them?
Not Water.
Some of them might skip Water Elemental for sure.
Yeah, a lot of them skip Water Elemental, surprisingly enough.
Which is crazy, because I gotta tell you, there's no more satisfying feeling to me than going on like a 6-game win streak, and in 4 of those games you played Blingtron. Come on.
Oh, Blingtron is the greatest card.
The Stone Cold Nuts.
Blingtron. Without thinking about it, my favorite card in Hearthstone. Without thinking about it, it's my favorite card in Hearthstone. Yeah, I think I honestly I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, why are people playing the Machietti and Spider Tank version? Like that version is just like way worse than the. And I was thinking about it, and I think a lot of it is people don't want to craft Blingtron. Honestly, I think that's the case.
People shouldn't be wusses.
I mean, I agree. Like, just pony up and craft Blingtron. You won't be sad. And if you want to feel better about it, just email the show. Email me, unleashthecast@gmail.com. Say, John, I crafted Blingtron and I'm not feeling too great about it, and I will say, who wants presents? And you'll feel better because everyone wants presents. By the way, that's his sound when he comes in when he battle cries. So.
But what about when he attacks?
It's enjoy. You didn't think I'd know that.
How do you know all these? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, John. What? Jesus,
you thought you stumped him.
I didn't expect to, but it was my way of showing off your worthless talent to the viewers. I wanted them to know just what you can do, because it's not right. Okay, but anyways, back on track to the conversation, because we got to move on quick.
Yes.
We need a paper.
Paper, mid-range druid / paladin. I think those are in the same boat.
I would have put it on paladin myself, but I haven't. You've been way more active this season.
It was definitely 1 to 2 weeks ago. I would 100% say it was paladin. Now I'm shifting more towards it being druid, but it's a coin toss.
Yeah,
as to which one's more popular.
I've still been playing some paladin. It's a very fair mid-rangey deck to me. So it's kind of like a half concession to, I'm not rank 5 yet, so I shouldn't be playing control. And also, screw aggro, I hate it, and I hope it dies. So it's kind of my half in and out. And that's why I play the Raynad version of Mech Mage, too, because I play it's more mid-rangey. It feels safer to me, and I like it in the mirror match quite a bit, except for when I draw Blingtron and they're freeze locking me. That's absolutely the stains. But I feel like generally when you're playing creature decks versus creature decks in Magic and Hearthstone, and I don't know about Yu-Gi-Oh, I assume it's the same, you just want to be bigger than them.
Right.
You're both a fairly early style deck, so why not make him have to send 2 guys into your one? So sell out to play the bigger creatures, and generally you get rewarded for it in those matchups.
Right. You either want to go very much under them or very much over them. And this one, it matches up very close, and it goes a little bit over, which gives you the edge.
All right. So now is the part of the show where I don't have any fun. But John gets to talk about, oh man, I got extra memes. I didn't even have to click through these.
You got a number of them, man.
Right? First show jitters. Anyways, we'll get through it. John wants to talk about this pile.
Yes, it's my baby. Well,
I got nothing, so go nuts.
I didn't actually make this deck. I don't remember who made it, but I copy pasted it a while ago. Made a couple changes. I think I added an extra Owl, and actually I've changed it. I'm running a list that Zixo and Gnimsh were playing. That's a little bit different, but overall the same. And this is what you would call the Face Hunter deck. And let me see if I can get a better look. Okay, just so I'll briefly run over the deck. It's got a Hunter's Mark of Tracking, a couple Abusive Sergeants, 2 Clockwork Gnomes, 2 Leper Gnomes, a Glaive Zuka, 2 Explosive Trap, 2 Ironbeak Owl, 2 Jugglers, 2 Mad Scientists, 2 Eaglehorn Bow, 2 Animal Companion, 2 Kill Command, 2 Unleash, 2 Arcane Golem, 2 Wolf Rider, and a Leroy Jenkins. So that was a little fast, but your basic Face Hunter, the hunter that's designed to go basically all in damage. This is what people would call Cancer Hunter. And I think that this deck gets a bad rap. I think people say that it takes no skill to play, that every single play you make is mapped out. All you do is attack face. It doesn't matter what you do. Jim's nodding his head. You just go all in face and you just duff, hunter, nah.
If I wasn't worried about what it would do to the podcast while we do it, I'd pick up my keyboard and bash my face into it a few times. There's another reason it wouldn't make sense, and that's that you don't need a keyboard to play Hearthstone. But sure. I would do it nonetheless to prove the point that that's all this deck is.
And I've got to say I wholeheartedly disagree with all of those statements. I have now, let me just double check real quick. I have now played roughly 80 games with Hunter this season unranked, and I've got a 72% win rate with it. And I think that you would be hard pressed to find people who have a similar win rate with Hunter with that many games played. And I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw this deck, I felt the same as the consensus. I thought the deck was just very easy, very quick, which that's a whole nother conversation to have about what kind of decks you want to play to ladder. But very fast to play. My games are over and done with quickly. Very easy, not mentally taxing like the Paladin or the Warrior control deck or the Rogue deck can be. And I picked it up and I played it, and I had a decent win rate with it. But the more I played it, the more I kind of I learned stuff about the deck, and I like thinking back about the games I played before. I realized I probably could have won some of the games I played, and I'm having more and more games where I'm losing by 1 point of damage, or I'm off by 1 mana, or I'm looking back and be like, oh, if I would have done this turn, it would have been able to set up so I could have played around the Sludge Belcher, and stuff like that. And even like what cards to keep on your mulligans, like, oh, do I keep Knife Juggler? Do I not keep Knife Juggler? Do I keep Unleash? Do I keep 3 drops? Do I mulligan aggressively for 1 drops? Do I keep all these things are not straightforward like people would lead you to believe. I would say the knee-jerk reaction for most people is to keep Knife Juggler in your opening hand for every matchup. I would say, having played this deck 80 games, that's wrong. Knife Juggler on turn 2 is not that good in a lot of matchups. However, if you're playing against Shaman or Paladin, where it's very key to your game plan that you get the Knife Juggler Unleash combo, you do want to keep it, and you do want to keep Unleash the Hounds, just because those cards are so pivotal in the matchup. And this goes all the way back to Magic, where people will say the same sorts of things about Mono Red Burn and all these aggressive decks. And you get high-level people like I don't want to be name-dropping Magic pros, but Patrick Sullivan is a very popular host for Star City Games, and he's an advocate for Mono Red. He always has been, and he can give a better lesson than I can about how skill-based these aggressive decks really are. And just having played this Hunter deck, which is obviously much less complex than most Hearthstone decks, there are a lot of decisions to be made on almost every single turn of the game. Whether you want to run the 2-drop out on turn 2, do you want to coin the 2-drop? Do you want to hold your 2-drop, use your hero power, and then next turn play a 1-drop in hero power, and then play a 2-drop on turn 4 in hero power? Like, some matchups, you're going to run out of gas. People complain about that all the time. Oh, this deck is bad because you just unload your hand and you run out of gas and you can never win. You don't have enough damage. Well, did you ever think about using your hero power every turn and using that as a resource? A lot of people don't. A number of games, I don't run out of damage. I die too quickly. I am using my hero power every turn, and given 3 more turns, I'm not going to run out of. I end the game with 2 kill commands in my hand. How many people do that? Not a lot, and not a lot of people.
You said it wrong, didn't you? Wasn't there an S at the beginning? Isn't it skill command?
It is skill command. If you play it right, it is skill command.
We can use it to promote the deck and make fun of it simultaneously. It's a cool term.
Don't get me wrong. This deck, just like any other good aggressive deck, is going to get free wins. I've had a number of times where I just go turn 1, coin 2 1-drops, turn 2, Glaive Zuka, they concede, or something like that. There's nut draws. Every deck has nut draws. There's no real difference. If the warrior goes turn 2 Armorsmith, turn 3 Acolyte, turn 4 Weapon, kill my guys, draw a bunch of cards, gain a bunch of armor, there's no real difference in terms of the nut draw as me just going like 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop and killing them. I still can't win. It's just they take 300 turns to win after that. The game is just as over on turn 5 as it is over as on turn 5 with Hunter, except the Hunter's actually won and you get to play 3 more games in the span it takes to win 1 warrior game. So stepping down off of my my soapbox, because we've probably talked too much about Hunter, that's my spiel. If you have any questions, tweet me, tweet the show, email the show. All the descriptions are everywhere. I'll explain the deck. And one last parting note: I have seen a number of people play this list or a similar list and just butcher it. And people will come to me all the time and be like, "Oh, I can't believe that you're still playing this deck. This deck's so boring. This deck's so bad. It's not good. It's I run out of gas." And I watch them play, and it's not the deck's fault. That's all I'm going to say. It's not the deck's fault.
So, also, if you guys have any questions, if you guys do have any questions for John about this deck, save your questions for the end. After the show, I want to make this. I'm going to talk about this on almost every podcast we do, every episode.
Yeah.
After the show, we're doing a little like after party or an after show or whatever you want to call it, an encore appearance, or I don't know. Me and John are going to hang out with Twitch chat. We kind of do zero in on the planned content that we have for the show during the stream, so we want to make sure we do hang out with you guys that are watching the live broadcast, give you a little extra, so stay through the end of the closing music. We're never going to upload it to YouTube. We're probably going to swear a lot more. We're going to use the less PC terms just right away.
And, we're going to get it all out. We're going to try to keep the cast professional-ish, and then the after hours show is no holds barred, basically.
Yeah. We're also willing to take it. You want to watch me kick John's ass since he's just a terrible aggro player and doesn't know how to play Hearthstone? You can tell us, hey, I want to see you guys play some games, or we had somebody already ask about like a good warrior build or something like that. We'll talk about stuff like that in the after show. So save those kinds of questions till the end, and we will get to them. But we do love you guys in Twitch chat. Feel free to talk to each other. You can talk to us. We'll be reading things. If you want us to talk about stuff, you mention it whenever you want. If it fits into the topic of conversation, we'll pick it up. We'll credit you with the idea. But we're not generally fielding open Q&A questions. It's got to be something that grabs our attention.
Yeah, and real quick, just because this is the first show, we can see your chat. Like Jim said, ask away. I'm going to be able to see it. We'll kind of keep it till the end. And if you have any questions, and we'll probably go over this again at the end of the show. If you have any questions, email us for another show, and we'll kind of comprise everything and probably, I'm going to be honest, probably put it in the show.
At least early, because I assume we're not going to get inundated with so many questions that we can't handle ourselves.
And that's the thing with go ahead.
But I was just going to say, YouTubers, if you want something answered on a show that you want to watch, tomorrow, right? Like, let's say you're we're 5 episodes in, you're excited about Wednesday's show and you get to listen to it on Thursday on YouTube when you're at work or whatever. If you want to tweet at the show or email the show, or not email, I'm sorry, email is slow. It's not day of communication.
Right.
Use Twitter to get a hold of us and send us a question. And even if you're not watching, we'll answer it on this show and you can hear our answer tomorrow instead of waiting a whole week for it. So,
and also like the Facebook page too.
Yes, we do have a Facebook page. The link for it is a nightmare and a mess right now until you hit so many followers or people that like it. Then you can define
No, it
URL.
should be facebook.com/unleash the podcast.
Well, then we'll get a link or a URL up of it on the screen for the next show for certain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to spend a minute just kind of undoing everything John just did to set up the Hunter deck, because I think it's important. I want to give John credit. He's 100% right that there's a difference between a bad player picking up Hunter and a good player picking up Hunter. Okay, a good player is going to have John's win percentage. He's going to have the 75 to the 80% win percentage with the deck because, like he said, you get free wins. And then you earn wins. So there's freebies plus your earnings. And if you're a really good player, it gives you a pretty good potential to have a higher win rate with a deck that's capable of the free wins. Okay. My problem with it is that I don't rank up a ton at the beginning of the month. Like John shot up to rank 5, got there super, super quick. Really smart strategy. I used to do it. I used to have a lot more time to play.
I used to have a lot less time.
Right. Anyways, so my point is that I kind of get hung back a little bit, right? And I'm playing against the people that, in my opinion, I think everybody's opinion is usually that the people they're playing against are probably worse than them. But I think on the law of large numbers, I don't play against as many legendary or, past legendary players as somebody like John does because he gets up in the ranks a lot faster. So I end up playing against kind of an average skill level, less, and I don't play against, I appreciate a really good game against a Hunter deck. I don't care how fast he kills me. If he makes some good plays, if he does some things that I think, man, there's a chance I wouldn't have seen that, he gets my well-played emote. He does. And, this isn't a cancerous deck anymore, okay? Undertaker got nerfed. I rejoiced. I'm not going to sit here and still complain about this deck and pretend like it's a problem. My problem with it is if I give this deck to somebody that's never played Hearthstone before, okay, it's their first game. I'm rank 14. Oh, play on my account, man. Sit down, play this ranked game. You'll see, it's easy. It's not bad. And they can stomp my face in and know nothing. Nothing. Okay? So that's why it frustrates me. The reason I don't play decks like this is because John talked about minimizing those games where you just run out of gas, right? You just don't get to play all the cards in your deck. You run out of cards in your hand. Your control opponent's got 1 million, but he Hawk and I Circle comboed you twice already. You're screwed. That is a worse feeling than death to me, I have to imagine. Sitting there with my thumb up my butt, just waiting for him to pass the turn so that I can press my hero ability again and pass the turn right back is the worst feeling on the planet. I'm not having any fun. There's no chance I want to do that to myself on purpose if I can avoid it. So I tend to not play those decks and to seek out those mid-rangey decks like we were talking about earlier. So that's kind of what I think the popular and the correct criticism of Hunter is how annoying those auto-win games are when you're playing against somebody of a lesser skill level. There's a difference between a perceived lesser skill level of your opponent and an actual lesser skill level, but anyways, that's kind of that's frustrating to me. That's why I don't like the Hunter decks, and that's why you'll see me make fun of John when he plays the Hunter decks.
Those are all fair concerns, man.
All right, so we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about tournaments in general a little bit. Also, cheaty faces, okay? We can't have cheaty faces in this game. How do you cheat at Hearthstone? You draw 2 cards a turn? It doesn't make any sense, Jim. Shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. This right here on your screen, you're witnessing Hearthstone cheating. It's right there.
And for those who are listening afterwards and can't see this.
Yes, if you're watching on YouTube, if you got to listen to it in your car, we love that you're here. We're going to explain what you're seeing a little bit. But right on the screen right now, is a picture of, I don't know that any punishment was handed down because of this. John, was there? Do you know of?
Yes, there was actually. Well,
just like self-inflicted though, right? Like kind of.
It was, no, I mean it was third party. It had nothing. Blizzard didn't do anything. If that's your question.
Well, explain what. Oh, let me finish explaining what's going on here.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about what happened to the guy.
Okay.
So Hosty's playing against Life Coach in Amaz's tournament. Hosty is a recent addition to Amaz's team. This Team Archon, as you can see the icon top right. This was a fairly big Twitch tournament. Amaz and That's Admirable are some of the more popular Twitch personalities. That's Admirable
Amaz is the number one Twitch streamer right now.
Yeah, his viewership is disgusting.
It really is. He's like top. He might even be in the top echelons of Twitch. Period. Not just Hearthstone.
I think he's got to be, and he deserves to be because he's that entertaining.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he brought Hosty onto his team, Team Archon. And Hosty shows up to his tournament and does this. Okay? Now, we're talking about, I can use the mouse to point it out. Look at that. Here's his game. We can see that. What is this? Well, in the video, you can see it a little clearer. Okay? That's the stream of the tournament. Okay? At least, theoretically speaking, that's what the popular opinion is. So he ended up actually getting kicked off of Team Archon, correct, John?
Yes. Actually, before the tournament even finished, I believe Hosty ended up losing this series against Life Coach, but this whole thing blew up while the tournament was still going on, and Archon, aka Amaz, basically reacted extremely promptly by releasing him from the team, from Team Archon.
Yeah, so at least the court of public opinion made a ruling very quickly, thanks to Reddit and Twitter. And Hosty is going to kind of have this cheater tag on him, like an asterisk, like, I'm the New England Patriots, look at me, I live in Boston.
Go Pats.
So he's going to have this kind of follow him around a little bit. And I have a little bit of a problem with such a harsh punishment, like kicked off the team, bam, like you just got to go. It's Amaz's team, do what you want. It's not how I personally would have handled it. I've got to say, I would probably have, at least waited a little while, talked to him, done some, I don't know, better than Roger Goodell, but, you got to do some form of investigation, figure out what the hell's going on. If you find out he was ghosting, that's great, but can't you, delay these things? You can put a 10-minute delay on your stream, right?
There was a 10-minute delay. That was the other issue. So Hosty basically came out and did the whole. I don't know if you followed the whole thing that happened in Magic recently with all the people that cheated at SCG Opens, Shufflegate. Did you hear about that at all?
I did catch a little bit of. I can't remember the name of the guy, but I remember the
Jared
one dude.
Jared Betcher had his Rookie of the Year title revoked. Yes. He got banned for all that time. Basically, one of the guys, when he got banned, he went, instead of being like, oh, I'm really sorry for what I did, because there was no denying this one guy, not Jared Betcher, the other guy. I can't remember.
Mitchell something, wasn't it? Actually, I'm starting.
No, it's. I don't remember. It's not important. But instead of being like, I messed up, I feel really bad for what happened, blah blah blah. He was like, keyboard cage fighters, man, you got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. You ruined my life, blah blah blah. Like, I'll be back in 90 months. I hope you're happy. Right. Like, just made himself even more hated. Just like proved everyone's point that he shouldn't be allowed to play. And Hosty, he didn't go that far. I'll give him that. But I
didn't hear about it until you told me about it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like the Twitch chats and everything, because like Twitch chat is its own news outlet, really. Like if you jump from whoever's at the top streaming Hearthstone, like you get to see what people are talking about on Reddit and stuff in the actual Twitch chat. So people are like calling him Ghosty, and like
well,
anytime he talks in chat, it's like Ghosty ghosting confirmed, and it's got the little donger that's like, I've got the stream in my sights, like every single time. But he basically was like, why would I do that? Like, that's so stupid. Like, if I were gonna do it, why wouldn't I? Blah blah blah. And like, why would you like? I don't know if he did or didn't. He still claims he doesn't, that he didn't. But like, if you did, just say you did, man. Like, you know, be like, okay, you know, I was trying to get as much of an advantage as I could at a tournament. You know, I paid the price of getting cut from the team, but you know what? I did what I thought I needed to do to win. And it's kind of a gray area because it all goes back to Magic. In Magic, there is a very set, defined rule book and comp rules and all those things for tournament structure. Like at certain levels of tournament, there are very concrete, for the most part, rules, and if you break them, you get punished. If you don't, or if there's something like rules lawyering, I have, I guess, somewhat of an unpopular view of rules lawyering at competitive REL tournaments. I say you should rules lawyer and squeeze and abuse the rules of the tournament as much as possible at a competitive tournament to get the win. And I've done this myself. I'm not ashamed to admit that at a PTQ, I called a judge on a guy because he did mess up. I called a judge, and I had a judge ruling that was not in my favor, so I appealed it in the hopes that it would get overturned and be in my favor. Whether or not I thought that the judge ruling was the correct ruling or not was irrelevant to me. It didn't benefit me, so I wanted to try to get it appealed. And if someone, like, little minutia things, some people they'll just let it go. They're like, oh, that's not in the spirit of the game. You know, people shouldn't lose for like deck reg errors and stuff like that. Like tournament rules, not Magic rules. And I am of the opinion that if you're going to a competitive or higher level tournament, competitive or pro, and you're paying $40, $50, $60 to enter the event, you should do everything that is legal in the game to try to attain the win. And I'm been long-winded, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, I'm gonna attempt to gloss over a story I've never told shortly in my entire life because it relates to this. But you know, I was playing for the Winning In at a Grand Prix in Baltimore 2 years ago-ish, maybe somewhere around there, and I had a guy call a judge. Out of nowhere, he decided at some point during the game, I probably got 3 lands with my Primeval Titan, and calls the judge over. And this is a Winning In, top 8 of a Grand Prix, huge fucking deal. Pardon my French, but you know, and I get awarded a game loss for game 1, and I am literally on the cusp of winning, like it is about to happen, and I'm just, my heart sinks. You get that wash of dread over you. And I just look the guy dead in the face and go, listen, I didn't cheat. I have to appeal your decision to the head judge. Okay. Now, there's, like you said, there's people out there that are going, you made a mistake, man. Just own up to it, right? Well, the head judge comes over, and Brad Nelson, who had his match literally right next to me, finished and was watching us and watching this whole situation go down. And he's talking to the head judge, and he's going, listen, I don't think he cheated. I think neither of these guys know what turn it is. Okay. And, you know, he explained counting out. He goes, yeah, if it's turn whatever, then he's got one too many cards. But count his side. Don't just count his, you know what I mean, one side of the board. Count both sides. And they count them like, well, you both have an extra card. All right, so 45 minutes later, it's continue from the board state that you were in previously. Go, you know, a turn and a half later, he's dead, and we're moving on to game 2. So it's never, listen, the rules are the rules for a reason, okay? And if your opponent does something that's against them, and the tournament organizers will ask you to call the judge if you see anything happen against the rules, malicious, not malicious, you know, it is what it is. The guy's a completely new player, and I'm playing against him because I had a bad start to the tournament or whatever, maybe it's a little different. Probably not, though. This is a Grand Prix, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation.
I'm trying to grind into day 2 here. I want to win some money. I come to these every week, or like once a month. I need to win some money back, please.
Anyways,
so I think as far as the hosty situation goes, it has to be like, listen, he didn't violate a rule. He did something that is considered to be unsavory, okay? And there's a very big difference. And if the tournament doesn't like it, and Amaz running this tournament doesn't like it, put a longer delay. Make it not worth it to him to try to decipher what's left in his hand from 10 minutes ago when the game
goes and like how useful is that information anyway?
Probably not at all, but it was available to him and it was information and he went for it. And maybe next time he takes the picture down. I really don't know, and we never will know as long as these tournaments get run online like this. There's just no way to figure it out. I don't even think he thought he was putting one over on anybody when he did it necessarily.
No.
I think he just go, why wouldn't I look at it? It's not super helpful, but if he's got one card on the far left of his hand for a million years, maybe I want to know what it is.
Right. And Crip actually posted a video in response to this. He thought it was kind of bogus, like how it was handled from both sides. And I tend to agree with him. Like if there's a card far left that he's had in his hand for 10 minutes and you're playing the matchup and you're like this level player, you probably know what the card is anyway. It's like, there's his BGH. I could have just deciphered that from knowing the matchup.
Right.
Or it's not really actually gaining information. It's just confirming the information that you should probably already know.
Or I'm playing a weapon class, but I haven't played one yet. So that's probably Harrison Jones in his hand over there.
Like, exactly.
Or you're at least reducing it down to a 50-50. We do this all the time.
And it's like, he confirmed that that's BGH and not Harrison Jones, and now he's slamming his weapon now, and he get in the weird spot. It's like, he probably ghosted for that. And then the person draws the Harrison Jones and punishes him anyway. Like, who cares?
Right. And ghosting is a big gray area to me anyways. I tried it once. I tried to ghost Tides of Time, and you know what happened? Okay? I was like, I know what he's got. I know how to play against him. And then he top-decked Ragnaros, and I fucking died. Like, it still doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't actually help. And, I didn't go seek out Tides of Time. I'm sitting here on the ladder watching Tides stream. Yeah. And I go,
that looks like me.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. And then I'm like, well, I'm not shutting it off. It was right there. You know what I mean? Like, I knew what was in his hand before I knew it was his hand.
Right.
Like, it was turn 4. I noticed, it's Tides. I need to make sure I screenshot if I win. Yeah. It was a War of Miriam match, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Tides of Time is actually a better player than I am, so I lost. But either way, we have one more main topic to discuss, and then we're going to get to your questions. So if you do have them in Twitch chat, we're a little low on time. We'll probably let it bleed over mostly into the after hours show when we discuss the questions, but we might have time for one or two. So now's a good time to start posting any if you do have them. It can be about anything. Me and John's personal lives, anything you want. Really don't care. Information about the podcast, information about our streams. Otherwise, just say the word. We'll do our best to answer it, but we'll answer it in an appropriate setting, either in the Q&A on the broadcast or in the after hours. But the last thing we want to talk about is also a big problem with tournament Hearthstone right now. Okay, and it's this. Topic. I don't know if you're not. I'm an IT guy, so I'm going to do my best to explain this to you. But this is an infographic to show you what a DDoS is. Okay, you see that Alienware laptop up in the top left corner? I don't know how Alienware feels about what I just realized is probably their logo being the attacker in this DDoS graph. But this is one guy on one computer, right? He writes this Trojan horse virus, okay, and he sends your grandma an email. All right, and it's about, I don't know, God knows what, the prince of Nigeria, whatever he's got to do, he needs your help.
Classic email scam.
Right, whatever it is. Okay, click this link, download this virus. Now this virus doesn't actually ruin Grandma's computer, it just sits there, okay, until the attacker decides to press this button, and then it starts pinging the IP address that the hacker told it to put there, okay? He does this on 250,000 computers that he's gotten his virus into, okay? And it's not much of a hassle to ping a computer, okay? It's really not. But when you do it repeatedly from 250,000 different computers, well, the person you're pinging starts to slow down, okay? And eventually, they disconnect completely. Their router is so full of your bullshit pings that mean nothing that it cannot pass your Hearthstone traffic through it anymore. So
Yeah.
John's got some specific instances of this having happened. I couldn't find anything interesting to put up on the cast, so that's why I went with this graph. I could have just explained to it, but I wanted you guys to be able to see something and know a little bit more about what a DDoS attack is and what's actually happening there. Because this is happening to people that are known quantities in Hearthstone when they're trying to compete in tournaments.
Yeah, so this kind of started. I first saw it. It might have actually been in the previous Pinnacle tournament, or maybe it was earlier in the rounds. I don't remember. But the first time I saw it happening was with Savitz and Firebat in some streamed tournament. It wasn't a huge one, but it might have been the Pinnacle. And Savitz and Firebat are playing, and all of a sudden Firebat just doesn't take his turn, and the casters are like, well, that was weird, and they got a message saying that he was disconnected, so they restart the match. Firebat is in the US, Savitz is in Sweden, I think, somewhere in Europe. So they reset the match. Both players were fine with it. It happens, and then it happens again.
It's the pre-established protocol, actually. When there's a disconnect in one of these big tournaments, it doesn't matter if it was 30-1, it doesn't matter what it is. The protocol is to restart. The players are the only ones that can, I think, have the option to say, listen, no, he beat me. Let's not waste our time with that.
Right, yeah. It's up to the other person. But they agreed to it. They're both upstanding members of the Hearthstone community, and then it happens again. I looked into it a little bit more, and they established that it was DDoS attacks. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a unique thing that I've never, that hasn't come up in tournaments before, because Magic tournaments are in real life. You can't DDoS someone in real life unless you
you might not be strong enough to DDoS me in real life.
Right, you just go up and start poking someone a lot, and they, disconnect from real life. And Magic Online tournaments don't need to worry about that because the program is DDoSing itself. Boom! Shots fired. But they I think they eventually did the cast. They did the tournament offline, streamed it offline, and then just casted the recording, basically, which I don't think is that bad, but it's not as fun. It's not as live, it's not spontaneous as a regular cast, as the live cast. But where this really kind of hit hard for me personally was when a guy, his Twitter name is DStar Orange, formerly J is Orange on Twitter. He was a Magic Online grinder from, once again, I think Sweden, but if that's not the right country, don't hate me. And he, I'm sure you're the same way. Whenever you see someone who is a Magic player that's playing Hearthstone now, you always kind of root for them because you think they should be better than the like straight Hearthstone guys. Like you're always rooting for your hometown hero, and Magic kind of feels like the hometown for me, and I'm sure for you too.
Kibler we're talking about. You don't just beat Kibler in a TCG. Didn't he invent the WoW TCG? What are we supposed to just beat this guy?
Like the lead developer or something.
Yeah.
But JS Orange, now D-Star Orange, moved over to Hearthstone. Once again, Magic Online DDoS itself. And he was in the Pinnacle tournament, and I didn't realize that he was, I had never heard of him playing at these high-level tournaments before. I followed him on Twitter. I saw that he was playing, but, he's in the Pinnacle tournament. I'm like, oh, I'm looking like how he got in there. He won a qualifier. So the way that a lot of these tournaments work is kind of weird. They have, like, a group of, like, celebrity invites that they have, like pro players that just get invited to these tournaments, and they have qualifier tournaments for the last spots. He won a qualifier. He goes all the way through this. I believe he made it to top 4 of the Pinnacle tournament, and then he gets DDoSed out of the tournament. He was tweeting about it. He's like, these people that are DDoSing me don't know how hard I've worked to get where I am right now. And he went through the whole grind. That's like winning a PTQ, going to the Pro Tour, top 8ing, getting to the top 4, and then having like Brian David Marshall people's elbow your deck and throw it in the lake and just done. You can't play. You lose. Good day, sir.
I said
Like,
good day.
I said good day, sir. Like, I just, it's crazy. And like, a lot of these DDoS attacks are like random, basically. Like, or they're just for trolling purposes. Like, are we really 15? Although these people probably are actually 15, so I probably shouldn't ask it like that. But like, come on, it's not like anyone in the community in any way thinks that it's funny or that it's like something that should be done, or like it's just
You're literally scum.
it's really stupid, and it kind of sucks because I guess us talking about it is, feeding the trolls, but a lot of people didn't know that it happened, and I think that maybe people being more vocally against it, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Orange has kind of like stopped talking about it because, for the reasons I mentioned, like you don't want to feed the trolls. So that is what it is, read into it as you must.
My opinion on it is, and it's probably not a popular one, but most of my opinions aren't anyways, so I'm just going to say them anyways, is that it's this sort of thing, this scumbaggery, that's what it is. It's just that you're the lowest form of life in the gaming community, to me, when you participate in these groups and these actions. They're all, much like pornography is the eventual byproduct of free speech, okay? This is the eventual byproduct of this massive trend of trolling that we like to do, okay? Listen, like, did you really not understand what I typed in my Facebook comment reply because there was an errant apostrophe in a word that didn't need it? Like, do you have to correct me? Is that so ingrained into your personality that you just freak out if you can't do it? And it shouldn't be. It doesn't matter. I'm not writing a scholarly work. I'm not asking you to read this. You're volunteering to come read what I wrote, so just shut up. If you can't understand it, speak up. Listen, hey, what did you mean there? I'm not sure, did you mean this? And just word it like a human being. That's not even, grammar Naziing is even a little separate from trolling. Not very separate, but a little separate from trolling.
Yeah.
It's what comes when you make the trolling acceptable and commonplace, because it's just the default way to act. BMing is like literally it upsets me a little bit. Like, as somebody that goes and shook the guy's hand at the end of every football game or tennis match I ever played when I played sports, in my life, it's part of being a competitor. You give them the well played macro, or you give them nothing if you're in a really bad mood and salty about it. I don't fault anybody for not saying well played at the end of a game. That's not my thing. Sometimes my hands are busy too, and I'm, doing other things. It is what it is. But to go out of your way to BM people, to me, this is like what comes from it at the end. Like, oh, that's super funny, so some jackass is going to take it too far. Yeah. And that's how this happens, and that's how people get doxxed, and that's how people, the Gamersgate movement gets started, is because the extreme fringe of any movement takes things too far, makes it not okay, and it is what it is. So I think the only way to fight the ridiculousness that is this is to give up the cause. Which, if it's funny to you, that's fine. And if it was more rare, I'd probably think it was funny too. But, it's taking a step back on that is the way to do it. I'm not asking you guys to take a step back on it. Do whatever you want. Unwind with your gaming time however you want. But that's just kind of my take on the situation. That's how we get to these DDoS attacks. That's why nobody could log into World of Warcraft the day the new expansion came out. Because people that didn't play World of Warcraft, or half of them probably did play World of Warcraft and bought the expansion, nobody can play because they're pinging the server from 14 million computers.
Right.
Grow up. Like, those servers were going to crash on their own. A new fucking game came out today. Like, it was... it's what was going to happen. So just let it happen. I don't know.
Okay, anyways, so side note to that, talking about World of Warcraft when the new expansion first came out. This is separate. This is actually clever trolling, and I thought this was hilarious when I heard about it. People, like, I don't play World of Warcraft, so if any of the details are off, it's from ignorance, not from being purposely trolling. People, there's waypoints to turn in quests. You have to talk to people. And apparently, at one point in the new expansion, there's this like tiny gnome that you have to talk to, and people were taking these in-game mounts that are just so massive and just have like 5 people go on top of this guy so that no one could turn it in. Like, I find that hilarious, but that's just like stupid in game. And they eventually fix it the next day. Boom, no one was actually hurt.
Right.
They fix it the next day. It's stupid in-game stuff. It's really it boils down to it being Blizzard's fault for that even being a possibility in the first place.
Right.
And that sort of thing. And that's like clever. That's clever trolling. When you just DDoS someone, it's not even funny. Like, it's not even clever. If it were something clever, I'm all for doing things that are fringe and maybe offensive if they're clever and funny, and more for entertainment than for hurting people. But DDoSing, it's just hurting people, and it's not funny. So it does not get my seal of approval.
All right, guys. Well, I want to say thank you very much. This is where we'll normally answer questions. It's the first show. I know there's not a lot of you seen it yet because we haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. So, we're not going to do any today. We're just going to answer anything that comes up in the after show when we're going to be more interactive with Twitch chat. So if you watched us on YouTube for this first episode, thank you, and we love you, and we hope to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you have any questions for us, we've got all sorts of information. Oh, wait, which finger? Oh, yep, right there. We've got some stuff right there. We've got some stuff over here. Nope, over here. It's so hard to figure it out. I can see myself 3 times on my screen, and they're all pointing different directions somehow. Email us, Twitter, either myself or Jim. Like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All this stuff. We're gonna keep up with it. Answer any of your questions that we can address. If it's a big topic, we'll talk about it on the show. If it's just a small little question, we'll answer it at this point of the show. We didn't really talk about it here, and this is our first podcast, so we're still getting a lot of logistical things done. But we're going to aim to have about an hour show. For the normal show, we're going to have some topics like we did today. We had a number of topics planned for today, and we got through most of them. But we're going to kind of try to keep it to an hour because I know personally when I listen to podcasts, if it goes more than an hour, you kind of zone out or you don't really want to. So we're going to try to keep it to an hour. We're going to have an official show close, an outro, and then a little bit of a editing break. And then we're going to go into the after show where we'll still be live on Twitch, but the after show is not going to be on YouTube. It's just going to be the live show. And
it's going to look a lot like Jim streaming Hearthstone.
It's going to look a lot like
John's face to it.
Yeah, it's going to... we'll play games. We might be able to play viewer games at some point. But that's how we're going to try to do the show. We went over a little bit for today, but that's fine. This is the first show. We're having fun. Another thing we didn't want to cut it. We don't want to cut the podcast. If we're going, maybe it'll be an hour 10 or an hour 15 on some days. We're not going to halt the brakes and be like, whoa, Jim. Hold on, you're going to have to tune in next week to see how this conversation ends here on Unleash the Podcast.
It's a fluid stop time. Listen, if there's not much going on in the community at that time, it might be a 45-minute podcast.
Right.
So
we're going to shoot for an hour, but, we don't have perfect aim.
And listen, guys, we're here for you. So, like he said, we will do if you guys want to see something in the after hours, if you want to see something on the show, let us know. Use these lines of communication that we can't get straight because mirrors are really hard to work, you guys.
I think this way.
It's backwards. You just got a point where you don't think you should point, and then you're okay.
Yeah.
So use one of these. Like we said, we got a Facebook. Come talk to me when I'm streaming. I stream every single Monday, and then I try to do 1 or 2 on the weekends. So come find us, and we will absolutely. We love to hear from you. We love the feedback, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
Do you have any fun imitations you want to do before I start the outro? What does the innkeeper say when you close Hearthstone?
I don't think he says anything when you close it.
Well, they should
But-
fix that so that you have something.
Well,
to say.
the show's end. The show here. This is what we can leave to. The show's ending, so I feel icky.
All right, that works for me. Next week, guys.